able to take something from it, that we'd be able to hold on to part of the message and really just take it to heart, God. So I thank you, we praise you, in your name we pray, amen. All right, guys, so as you make your way back to your seats, check out the screen.
Because I hated middle school, and hopefully some of my words can help you guys hate middle school a little bit less. Amen?
Amen.
Anyway, hey, here's what I'm going to do. I want to pray before we get started, and then I'll go ahead and get started. God, thank you so much for all of these middle school students, God. God, I just want to pray that as we jump into what you have for us today, God, would you help us move? Would you move us in a powerful way? Because, God, I know that you want to speak to us this morning. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Well, if you guys get to know me a little bit, you will find out one indisputable fact about my high school time. Is that I was really, really stupid when it came to girls. Okay, cool? So that's something that you'll learn from me and learn about me. When you come into high school ministry, I've had to stop telling stupid ex-girlfriend stories because I have too many of them where I was an idiot and like all that stuff. But now you guys are a new audience for me, so I get to kind of tell you one of my stories, okay? Cool? So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was what you called a scene kid. Now, do you guys have scene kids around anymore? Like flat iron hair, really tight pants, they listen to metal music, like those tight shirts. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that was who I was. Like, I stopped short of dyeing my hair blue, but that was about as, like, I got really far into that scene. I loved it. Like, I was definitely, like, I was a really happy emo kid. Like, I was always around hanging out with people, but I always dressed like I was really sad. You know what I'm talking about? So, do you guys have emo kids anymore? Like, just help me out. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, I met a girl one day. I was going around my school, and I'd be an extrovert, and I'd go try to meet people. And I met a girl, and her name was Taylor, okay? And I thought that Taylor was super cute because she was a scene girl too, okay? She also flat ironed. Guys, I swear I did flat iron my hair every day, by the way. Like, it was bad. Like girls, you know what a flat iron is? I did that every day, and my hair was as long as Jake's. It was awful. But she would flat iron her hair too, and like, I mean, I'm telling you, she had like the blue-tipped hair. She listened to all the music that I listened to, and she wasn't like any of the other girls, is what I said. Girls, you hate that phrase, by the way. Like, she's not like all the other girls. Like, isn't that sexist in itself? Anyway, but I was like, I was like, she's so cool. But here's the problem. You see, Taylor, I was at that point, I followed Jesus. Like, I loved him. I was kind of in a space in my life where I kind of like, I'll be totally honest, I didn't love God, I liked God. You know, I wasn't quite there. I was kind of in like a rocky space in my faith. But Taylor didn't know God at all. She'd never gone to church. She didn't know who Jesus was. And I thought, it'll be okay. I can just balance my two lives, okay? So here's what I want to show you what started to happen with me, okay? Can I get two, a guy and a girl, really fast, real quick. One and then two right here. You guys come sit up here. Yep, there you go. Thank you so much. What's your name, man? Lebo. Perfect. And your name? Sienna. Lebo and Sienna. Awesome. I'm going to try to remember. Okay. But anyway, so here's kind of what happened in my life. I began to kind of feel this tension because I remember that Lebo, can you stand up for me? Lebo, you're going to play God in this situation. Are you up to that task? Totally perfect. Awesome. All powerful. You're good? He's like, no. That's the right answer, but you're going to play God. It's going to be awesome. Here, grab this rope for me, okay? And then Sienna. Cool, you're gonna put an awful ex-girlfriend. Here you go, you hold that. Is that you go for that tap? I'm just kidding. Okay, anyway, so here's how this works for me. You guys aren't gonna like really pull, but just keep it tense, okay? And then I'm gonna move this way and you're gonna come with me, and then I'm gonna move this way and you're gonna come with me, okay? Just don't fight me because I'm not as strong as either of you two, all right? You see how skinny these are? Anyway, so here's what began to happen in my life. I began to just try to earn the approval of one of two people. Either God, I was trying to get God's approval by reading my Bible, I was trying to get God to love me by going to church more or whatever, or I would try to get Taylor's approval by like maybe loving God a little bit less because she didn't love God. I would try to get Taylor's approval by hanging out with her instead of going to church. I know I'm awful in the pastor, y'all, but it happens, right? And so here's what would happen. You see, I would have this moment with Jesus, and I'm gonna walk you guys. Keep that thing taut, but walk with me, okay? So you walk with me too, man. We're gonna walk backwards. backwards. Forget about backwards. You got this, middle school. Heavy things. All right, so we're going to walk. So as I began to go, my relationship with God, I began to feel like I was getting God's approval. I was like walking, I was getting God's approval, but here's what was happening at the same time. There was this tension, so my relationship with Taylor was starting to take a nosedive because I was seeking her approval less and I was seeking God's approval more, okay? But then this would happen. Taylor would come up to me and she'd say, Tim, why do you read your Bible so much? Why do you go to church so much? Geez, that's awful of you to say, by the way. Oh my gosh. But she'd say, why do you go to church so much? Like, I would rather you spend time with me. And I'd go, that makes total sense. And so I would start to earn her approval and try to get her approval. And it felt like we were going, wow, you're going fast, dang girl. Anyway, and we'd go like this. But it felt like my relationship with God was still in this super, super tense point. Has anybody ever felt this? It may not be with a girlfriend, it may be with a friend or a teammate or a sports coach, but you feel like you're trying to earn God's approval and do what he wants you to do, but then at the same time, you're also trying to earn this person's approval over here, and you have this tension in your life, and it just adds to the stress. Has anybody ever been there before? Yeah? Okay, cool, awesome. You guys can put that down. Sit down, I'm going to call you back up in just a second. Give them a hand for their first round of volunteering. Yes. Here's what began to happen. My dad and I have a really close relationship. And my dad, who kind of knows me better than anybody else at that point in my high school career, remember he took me out and we started driving around and he just, we were doing guy stuff, punching each other in the arm and, calling each other names or whatever. Girls, that's what guys do all the time, just so you know. But as we kind of got to hang out a little bit more, my dad said, Tim, you seem really stressed. You seem really anxious. You seem really kind of just, it doesn't seem like you're you. And I remember just kind of pouring out. I said, Dad, I have this thing where I want to please God. I want to make him happy with me. I want to make him love me. And so I'm doing all these things, but then this person over here says that doesn't connect with them. And so I'm trying to impress her as well. I'm trying to impress my other friends as well. And I just feel like there's this tension that I can't get past. Has anybody ever been there with me today? Anybody? Just give me a raise of hand if you ever felt that tension in your life. Yeah? Thank you guys for being honest. I really appreciate it. Guys, there was another guy named Paul that felt this tension too, and I want to talk to you guys about him. He's a character in the Bible, and Paul comes about right after Jesus died, was resurrected, and rose again to heaven. This thing called the church started, and it's what we're a part of today. It started right back there, right after Jesus ascended to heaven. And as soon as the church started springing up and loving people and being a great place to be, enemies came up with the church as well. Governments rose up, religious parties rose up, and there was a guy named Paul that kind of led his religious party into hating Christians. In fact, he didn't just dislike Christians and post nasty stuff on Instagram. He would actually go to churches and arrest people, and in some cases, he would go to churches and murder people for worshiping Jesus. Sounds like a pretty evil guy, right? And when you hear about it, it's kind of like the way that I look at Hitler when I first think of Paul. I'm like, dude, that guy was just evil, and there's no really redeeming qualities to him. And how could you get that way? But then when you look at what Paul was actually, how he grew up, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. It's not justified, but it makes some more sense to me. You see, because Paul grew up, his parents put him into a school called the Pharisee school really, really early in his life. And the Pharisee school, if you guys know the story of Jesus and you've been around church a little bit, you'll recognize the name Pharisee because these guys were like the main enemies of Jesus while he was on earth. They would always try to come challenge him. They were actually the ones that led to him being crucified. These guys were not good dudes. But they were really trying to keep the holiness of their Jewish faith and make sure that nobody came and messed with what they had. But see, Paul wasn't just a Pharisee. He didn't just go to school. It wasn't like he was like the middle range student. It was like he was the very top of his class. It was like he was the valedictorian. It'd be the difference between getting a high school degree and going to Harvard, because there was a Pharisee, and he was big up in his Pharisee world. His name was Gamaliel. It's a cool name, right? I'm supposed to name my second boy. Gamaliel, right? And Gamaliel looked down and he noticed Paul because Paul did a really good job impressing people. He did a really good job living up to people's expectations. And so Gamaliel came down from his high tower, wherever he was, and he picked Paul and he said, "You're going to be my disciple." This would be like if Justin Bieber came up to you and said, I'm gonna lead you into fame. It's that level of oh shoot, Paul made it. In his culture, he was it at that point. He was top of his class. He was going to Harvard. He was like Justin Bieber's apprentice. That was kind of that was the way that it was for him. And so Paul goes out, and now he's trying to impress these people over here. He's living in this tension. He's trying to follow God, but at the same time impress people over here. And so it kind of gives a little bit of motivation to why Paul did what he did. But then, see, Jesus wasn't going to leave him there. And so one day Paul was on the road to a city called Damascus, and it said this light shone down from heaven suddenly, and it blinded Paul for 3 days. And Jesus said out of the clouds to Paul, "Why are you persecuting me? Why are you hurting me when you're hurting my church?" And it says that Paul has this insane, 180 flip. It says he goes from being completely on this side to completely on this side with God. And it's a little side lesson. It's not our main point today, but a little side lesson. If you think that you're not worthy of God, or you think you've done too many bad things, or if you know people that you're like, there's no way that drug dealer, there's no way that girl, there's no way that guy could ever come to know Jesus, you just need to read the story of Paul, guys. Because if someone could go from murdering Christians to leading Christians, that's what our God does. He changes people like that. Right? Amen, anybody? I love that about our God. But here's the main point that we're getting at. You see, Paul felt this tension, and he's writing this letter to the Galatians, and they're this church of Galatia that he started. And Paul is writing this letter, and he's realizing that people are dealing with this struggle of trying to earn God's approval and trying to earn people's approval. And I want you to watch, because I know that for some of you guys that have been to church for a little while, you may be like me, I was a pastor's kid, and I would try to guess the pastor's main point. You may think that my main point today is going to be stop trying to earn people's approval and start trying to earn God's approval. That's not my main point, and I want to show you where it comes from, okay? Here we go. Let's go to verse 10. It's up here on the screen right behind me. Galatians 1:10. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to really please people? If I were still trying to please people, I could not be a servant of Christ. You see, guys, what Paul is trying to say here is you can't please people and please God at the same time. It doesn't happen. You can't please people and please God. But can you put that verse back up? Because this is really, really important. Put that verse back up for me, Noah. Thank you so much, man. It says, am I trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? And then he asks that question again, but he leaves out the God part. It's super interesting. Or am I trying to please people? It's really weird that he doesn't include God in that second question. Did you guys catch that? How in the first question he says, am I trying to please God or people? And then the second one he says, am I still trying to please people? You see, Paul learned a secret that I want to tell you guys today that I promise you will change your life if you begin to apply this to your life, okay? Here it is. And my people come back up really fast, who was volunteering for me before. Yeah, you're going to sit right there in that chair, and then where's my man? Is he still here? Oh, he's the rest. That's totally fine. Can I give one more guy? Come on up here, man. Yeah. What's your name, dude? Torian. I'm Tim. Good to meet you, man. So, Torian, you're going to stand right beside this seat, okay? Just stand off to the side for me here. So, I want you guys to picture this right here as God's approval, okay? I know that sounds kind of weird, but picture this seat as getting God's approval, all right? Here's what Paul is saying in this, and this is the goal that I want to tell you guys about. The goal is to live from approval, not for approval. The reason that in that second sentence, we didn't see, am I still trying to please God? We didn't see that be the case there, was because Paul is trying to tell us something. If you went to camp or if you've come to church and you've given your life to Jesus, I want to give you guys this crazy secret. I promise it's awesome. You no longer have to work for the approval of God. You already have it, okay? You don't have to work for more of God's love. You already have it. In our high school ministry, we have a student leadership team, and a lot of times I'll get people come in and we'll do interviews, and I'll ask them, I say, hey, why do you want to be a student leader of this ministry? And they say, I really want to know that God is, I want to be able to earn more of God's love, or I want to have God approve of me more. And I have to look at them as their leader and say, hey, I love you, but let me tell you something. That's the wrong way to look at it, because you can't earn more of God's love. It says that God has such perfect love for you, which means complete love for you, that he says he's not only has that love, the Bible says he is love. He is complete love for you. And so you can't earn this approval. So this approval here, can you stand on top of this? Torian's going to show us something. You can stand on top of the chair. Yeah, stand on the chair, man. So as Torian stands on this chair, I believe that when you come into Christ, you exist in God's approval. God already approves of you. You can't earn more of it. You can't get more of it because he already approves of who you are. Isn't that good news? Isn't that awesome? I hope for some of you guys that's freeing today to hear that you don't have to earn more of God's approval. You don't try to have to claw for it like you have to claw for everybody else's approval. But here's what Paul is getting at. There's a reason he wrote this verse. He didn't just say, hey, God already approves of you. He starts saying, hey, am I still trying to please man? Because here's what Paul has recognized happens. You see, when I was in middle school, and when I was in high school with Taylor, you guys heard about, but when I was in middle school, there was a really cool group of kids. And they were, don't laugh at me, they were in my band class, okay? I played clarinet, they played trumpet. That was a cool instrument back then, okay? Listen, it was, whatever. Anyway, but they were like the cool guys. And I remember one day, they invited me over to sit and have lunch with them in the band room. And here's what, I was like, oh my God, I get to go hang out with the cool guys. It was like this big social moment for me. But as I walked in, I began to realize that these cool guys, they started talking bad about the friends that I already had. They started like kind of being like, oh dude, that dude is so fat. That girl is so ugly. Who would ever get with her? And I remember that, and then I was like, holy cow, they're like, is this kind of like verbal bullying and like gossiping behind someone's back? And then they said, Tim, what do you think? Here, can you hold this? They said, Tim, what do you think? And here's what happened. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to get their approval. So I started talking bad about the people that had loved me up to that point. And so here, I'm just gonna take a little bit more. There you go, and you're gonna grab that. You see, because guys, I want you to picture now this rope is people's approval. You guys, this is really, really enticing. Because as soon as I said that, as soon as I started talking bad about my friends and kind of bullying them behind their backs, I reached out for people's approval and I grabbed it. And this is where Paul is right. You can't please people and please God at the same time. Because I started bullying my friends. I started speaking out against them. I started calling them names behind their back. And here's what happened. Those guys that I was sitting with, all of a sudden they were like, dude, Tim is so cool. Dude, come over to my house. Come hang out with us. Come. And I was like, you guys, I'm going to be honest with you, it felt good. Like I was like, dude, this is awesome. I've got the approval of the cool kids now. This is amazing. But guys, when I reached out to this, it was like a drug because then I had to do more and more and more in order for those people to actually approve of me. But here was my justification, and we do this all the time. Torian, and you're gonna resist this, okay? You're not gonna let him do this, all right? Sienna? So Torian, what you're gonna do is, and this is what I did, I thought that I could use my influence with these people to pull them up with me. Like, right, I could make them better. But go ahead and try to pull her up on that chair, and you're gonna resist that, okay? Pretty easy to resist it, yeah? Now here's what I want Sienna to do, and I want to show you the danger of approval. Ready? Sienna, I want you to pull Torian off the chair, and you try. No, it's okay. Just try to resist. You got it. You're gonna be okay. It's like 6 inches, man. You'll be okay. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Pull up. Oh. And he learned to let go of the influence. Not yet, dude. Here, I want you to grab onto that. You gotta resist it. You gotta resist it. Hold on to it tight. Hold on to it tight. Let her pull you off the chair. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Pull. Pull. There you go. There you go. Very nice. Very nice. Everybody, give them a hand, y'all. Give them a hand. That was awesome. He knew what was up. He's like, I already know, just let go of it. You're teaching my message for me, bro. Guys, the thing is, when we try to use our influence to bring people up, oftentimes we let it bring us down. Now, what Torian did was perfect there. I love that. You guys, if we start to view the approval of others like that, Torian's like, dude, I'm letting go of that thing. Why? Because it's dangerous. Because it's so easy to be standing on the approval and have right relationship with God and grab onto that thing that's pulling us down and just hold on to it for dear life. Friends, I want to tell you something. It is so much more free to live from approval than for approval, okay? I want to show you guys one more example of how this works because you guys may be like, well, wait, how does that actually, like, what does that actually mean, like, day to day? I'm going to have your amazing Pastor Jake Veda come up here, everybody. You're going to have him Jake Veda. Jake's going to be my object lesson today because I want to tell you guys about me and Jake. Me and Jake have been friends now for about 1.5 years. I've worked here for about 1.5 years now. And it's super fun because when I come into the office or when Jake comes into the office, like Jake always, you guys know his phrase, it's, what up, boy? You guys know how Jake does that all the time? Does anybody ever? Okay, never mind. Anyway, but he'll always do that. Or I'll come in and I'll be like, dude, what's up, Jake? And as we get into conversation, sometimes we're not too busy. I'll be like, dude, how's Kaylee doing? He's like, good. How's Megan doing? I ask him about the wedding planning. We talk to one another. How exhausting, Jake, would it be if I came in always seeking your approval?
Yeah, it'd be tiring.
It'd be tiring, wouldn't it? If I was like, Jake, how you doing, man? How's it going? Has anybody ever had a clingy friend like that that's always looking for your approval? How you doing? How's it going? Are you okay? How's Kaylee? Is everything all right? You know what I mean? Like, it's exhausting. But I'm able to actually have a great relationship with Jake, and Jake's able to have a great relationship with me because we come in with the understanding that we've already got a friendship. So when I come in, it's like, hey, Jake, dude, how you doing, man? Dude, I'm doing well. And if Jake has to tell me, dude, I'm a little bit busy right now, I gotta do some stuff, and pops it in, I'm like, I don't take personal offense. I'm like, dude, we're friends, that's totally fine. See, guys, when we live for God, I don't want us to live towards trying to get God's approval. I want us to live from God's approval. I want us to live from it saying, hey, God, I may be doing the same things, I may say the same words to God, I may have the same Bible reading, I may have the same prayer life, but it's not in effort to try to get to you, it's from this idea that, hey, God, you already love me, so now I can go do what you called me to do. Does that make sense? Everybody give Jake a hand for being up here. Yeah! Guys, I hope this gives you some freedom today. I hope that you don't feel like you have to go run after God's approval with everything that you have. I hope that you realize that you've already got it. And your life may not change in how you relate, in how you act towards God, but I hope it changes from where you act. I hope that your life changes from your perspective of your relationship with God. That you may read the same Bible, You may pray the same prayers. You may come to church the same. But it's out of appreciation for what God has done for you, not out of trying to claw your way to get his approval, okay? And so here's what we're going to do. I want to give you guys just a little bit of time with 2 questions, okay? And so you guys are actually going to take your chairs, and I'll divide you up in a second. You're going to gather around these tables in the back with some leaders. But here are my 2 questions. Noah, can you put up the second question and then the third question there? This question is this. When you hear that you're living from approval, how does that change your view of God? Instead of having to live for approval, living from approval and from love, how does that change your view of God? And the second question you guys can ask is this. How do you want to live for God from approval this week? Got it? Got it? Good? All right, cool.